Welcome to DMM Downloads. We are podcasting another conversation about DMM between Jeff Crabtree and me, Rudy Rivera. Jeff and I are teamed together in Northern Colorado in a ministry we call DMM NOCO. DMM NOCO is unleashing disciple-making movements in Northern Colorado, and we thought it a good idea to start a podcast as a way to bring awareness and resourcing to ordinary people who are passionate about making multiplying disciple makers in our natural networks. Thanks for joining us in this journey. We hope you get a DMM download from this conversation. Well, hey, Jeff, it's Thursday this week, January 23rd.
Hi,
And
Rudy.
hey, we've got sunny Colorado here in Northern Colorado.
Sunny but cold.
It is cold, snow back on the ground,
January.
staying on the ground. Yeah, I think we both had that meeting last night, and I know for me, I was really cold stepping out of that. But we are here again today to do a DMM Downloads podcast, and we are talking this morning, continuing a conversation and really opening up to more details. The idea and the course that we have, which is the habits of a multiplying disciple. And Jeff and I thought it would be good to talk a little bit more, give a little bit more details about each of the habits. So we're going to hopefully take the next couple of weeks and give some downloads on the habits of a multiplying disciple course. Jeff, talk
Great.
more about these habits.
Well, first of all, I think we mentioned last week that as we launch into a new year, 2025, everybody's kind of thinking about New Year's resolutions, or we would call them habits. Your habits create your outcomes and your results. So everybody's kind of thinking, okay, what do I need to add? What do I need to subtract? And for us in the movement world, the disciple making movement world, so much of our learning or training or retooling is through our training called Habits of a Multiplying Disciple. So I think we shared a little bit about that last week, but what we thought we'd do is take each of the components and kind of dig a little deeper and lean in so that people could understand a little bit more what we mean by this whole training habits of a multiplying disciple.
Yep. Yeah, well said. Well said. So another way that we talk about that information or that course is we talk about it in terms of a pathway. And so we don't have the visual here on the audio recording, but you could hop on our website and there's a picture of that, of what we're talking about as well. You could follow along if you want to, but we thought we could start today with habit number one, which is the heart of God. So Jeff, why don't you
Yeah,
tell?
Rudy. Again, I've been in the movement world for about 7.5 years and fairly soon into my exploration of this whole idea, what is disciple making movements and how are you trained and how do they train people? I was introduced to, and if you will, maybe confronted with the very first principle is the heart of God.
Mhm,
And, that seems like such a broad statement. How do you get your heart, your hands, your head around the heart of God? What does that really mean? And in our training, we really start with John 15, I'm sorry, Luke 15, where we're talking about the parable of the prodigal son.
mhm,
And so when we talk about the heart of God, is really we're trying to say, what is God's heart for the lost? Not just in this broad 30,000 foot level. Yeah, we all have the heart of God. We love the heart of God. Great commandment, great commission. But it really narrows the focus and the sphere of, do we understand Luke 15, the parable of the prodigal son? And one, I assume we're all the prodigal son or prodigal daughter, and the father looking out for us. But we can also put ourselves in the situation: are we like that father
mhm,
with the lost people around us?
mhm,
And so it was really that training, that piece of the heart of God, that really captured me, Rudy, when I began to look under the hood and ask questions and pray and investigate. How much was I aligned with the heart of God? Again, especially in regard to lost people. And I was deeply undone. Again, at that time, I'd been in full-time pastoral ministry almost 40 years, But when I was looking a little bit of, is my heart aligned with God's heart in regard to lost people? I had to conclude, no,
Mm,
not in any real vibrant, practical way. And
mhm,
so, what we do is try to dig a little deeper with each person as we do the training and, help them really investigate and evaluate what is their level of involvement and practicality in reaching lost people.
mm,
So I think I just kind of kick it back to you is that we don't really believe that we're going to be able to advance or fulfill the Great Commission if we don't have God's heart for the lost. Jesus came to seek and save the lost. So
mm,
if I don't have really any heart, passion, or pathway to reaching the lost, then I have to say, am I really looking like Jesus? Am I
yeah,
really tied to the heart of God?
yeah. Yeah, that's such an important thing that we like to talk about or think about, and really, we believe really sets up all of the habits pathway or all of the training that we offer. That if you don't really lean into the heart of God, if you don't capture more of His heart as your heart becoming His heart, our hearts becoming His heart. This is not like I've arrived or Jeff's arrived. We're just saying these are the principles that we're leaning into, but as we've been practicing disciple making movements for several years now, I think there's a direct correlation in my mind to an increasing heart of God for lost people changes sets a foundation and a tone for changing habits. That if you jump ahead to the other habits, which we'll continue to unpack over the coming weeks. But if you jump ahead of these habits and lose or lack the heart of God, really, I mean, in some ways, we could go back to Paul's words in 1 Corinthians 13, right? Like we become religious people essentially, like just clanging gongs, cymbals, loud noisemakers, but no real love, And so that's maybe a correlation that I tend to make when we talk about the heart of God is especially to um, let's just say it maybe directly, like to an unbelieving world. If we don't have God's heart for lost people, for an unbelieving world, then to an unbelieving world, I think we're just clanging gongs and noisemakers that are more agitating and aggravating than anything else. But even beyond that, I would say for us, can you speak directly to, I know we've talked a lot, but can you speak directly to how you've seen your heart for the lost changed, or maybe just leaning into this principle has greatly impacted your life?
Yeah, Rudy. Well, again, maybe we could use the idea or the illustration or metaphor of building a house. If you don't build a good
Mm,
foundation and then you start building other things on it, you're probably going to get yourself in trouble. And we just really believe that uh, aligning and understanding and laying in the foundation framework of the heart of God is what's most important. Actually, I always think back even to the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve
mm,
when Adam and Eve were walking with God in the cool of the day. It seemed to
mm,
me that they were relating to and aligning with God's heart before anything else, before they were called to go till the garden. And
mm,
so I always see even go back to the book of Genesis and see this whole idea of the heart of God. But I
mm,
think, Rudy, what I've kind of understood in the world in which we have grown up in the West, our presentation of the gospel or gospeling to people many times has been, there's a holy God in heaven and you're a sinner. We've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And, if you don't receive him, you're going to be judged for all eternity. So almost we introduce some fear. We want to kind of maybe motivate them to be afraid of God or afraid of God's judgment or afraid of God's wrath or afraid of meeting God in eternity. And obviously, all of that is true. God is holy. But again, is that really relating to, if you will, our audience, lost people, that we're trying to get them afraid of a holy God? Is that
mm,
what aligns with the heart of God? We just think that the parable of the prodigal son really reveals the heart of the father, that
mhm,
he's always looking.
Mm,
And so for us, that's why I think the whole idea of the heart of God is so important. And yeah, for me, I think you've heard me tell this story, is that when I was confronted that I don't think I had God's heart for the lost, I just fell on my face in my office and wept and said, God, please forgive me.
mhm,
And then almost 5 years plus, almost every day, I just admit to God, God, I don't have your heart for the lost. I'm
mhm,
selfish. I'm consumed in Western culture. I want to get ahead, the multiple things. So I have to keep going back to that foundation. God, I do not have your heart for the lost. Would you
mhm,
give it to me? And
mhm,
obviously, I haven't arrived, but I will tell you 5 years plus later, I cannot not think about lost people.
mm,
We talk about 600,000 lost people in northern Colorado. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about those 600,000,
mhm,
because I think that is God's heart. He wishes that no man perish, but
mhm,
all would come to a knowledge of the truth. So,
mhm.
anyway, it's become very foundational for me for sure.
Yeah. And in the prodigal son story, we know, if you're familiar with the story, we know there's a story of a father with a son who's drifted and wayward and left. And that father longs for the return and is waiting and looking and pursuing. And even the story goes, the son, upon the son's return, the father runs out. That always strikes me, runs out to meet him on the road, doesn't wait, you know, preoccupied in a back room with nonsensical activities. No, no, you get the impression he is actively looking, pursuing, waiting, and then greeting that returned son out on the road. Doesn't even wait for him to come in. Put away all the old. Let's get to the present and new. And he throws a party and he kind of moves on. And we think when we talk about habits training, we spend one of our evenings, one of our sessions talking about the heart of God, praying into the heart of God, and really then the next steps, it's a habit. You need to build these habits. And Jeff's kind of talking about that prayer that he's been praying for over 5 years. I've been praying for several years now because of Jeff's influence and in my life. But as we pray, we believe, pray that prayer by faith. It's a simple prayer, maybe a dangerous prayer. It's not the only prayer, but it's a pray something like, God, give us your heart for the lost. We believe God wants to answer that prayer. And then you start to ask a question, at least in my mind, what if what if God's people prayed and God answered that prayer and more people in northern Colorado, let's say, had the heart of God for lost people? What might happen? Anyhow.
Yeah, I'm pretty maybe simplistic in my thought, but again, I know how that one prayer has radically changed me, my perspective of God, my perspective of lost people, my ministry. And so, yeah, I'm just a firm believer, if every person who calls himself a Christian or a follower of Jesus or a disciple of Jesus, if they would be praying, I tell people, even if you pray 30 days in a row, 1 month, and pray every day for God to give you his heart for lost people, I believe it's a prayer that he would answer. And I know that how it changed me. I just think the whole Christian community would be impacted and changed, and thus the whole lost world in which we dwell with wherever we live is going to be influenced. So that sounds like a small thing, but it's a big thing to pray every day. God, please give me your heart for the lost.
Yeah. So as we're kind of wrapping up this session talking about the first habit, which is the heart of God, along the habits of a multiplying disciple pathway, do you want to add anything or kind of give a clear, maybe what would be a call to action, if you will? If you're listening to this podcast, what would you suggest people do with this?
Yeah, again, I think we just mentioned it. I would say evaluate your view of Christianity, your involvement with people that don't know the Lord, what we call the lost. How high is it on your priority list? Could you be honest in evaluation? If one is low and 10 is high, where are you? Are you a one that, you just get caught up in your own life and even in Christianity and doing good works and serving in the church and all that stuff that's good? but you really don't have any thought about, or you don't really have any practical steps into lostness, then maybe there's some room for improvement. But if you're 8, 9, or 10, then maybe it's just we all drift, we all fall to our own default, just making sure that we keep the main thing the main thing. And I do think that I didn't write the scriptures. Obviously, the Holy Spirit did through these men. But the point is that Jesus came to seek and save the lost people. So if I want to be Christ-like, little Christ, align with his heart, somewhere along the line, I've got to also seek and save the lost. And I just didn't do that. I was building churches and leading churches and leading staffs, and all that stuff's fine, but I really didn't prioritize seeking and saving the lost. So in our habits training, we try to put people in a space and nurture that and reinforce that. And we really believe it makes a difference in a person's life.
Great. If you're interested in the habits training, go to our website, dmmnoco.com, dmmnoco.com. You can find information there. The first page, we added a link. It just says interested in habits training. Click on that. You can let us know if you're interested, get in touch. Or you can look around the website, find out more information, even perhaps take the self-paced course, which will take you right into what we're talking about today, the heart of God with some practical application. Thanks, Jeff, for your thoughts. This is really helpful. We'll continue unpacking the habits training starting in the next podcast. All right.
Thanks, Rudy.
Yep. Thanks, Jeff, for that engaging download. In DMM, we like to say that disciples are learners. I know I'm learning a lot from my conversations with you, Jeff. From all of us in DMM NOCO, we hope you got a DMM download from the conversation today. Don't forget to leave this podcast a review wherever you are listening online. If you found this conversation helpful, please head over to our site, dmmnoco.com, where you can find more content for your DMM journey, including a self-paced Habits of a Multiplying Disciple course. The course is designed to give you practical next steps to becoming a DMM practitioner and multiplying disciple maker. You can take that course for free at dmmnoco.com. We will be back next week with another engaging DMM download episode. Until then, may you hear from God through His Spirit and take simple steps of obedience in what you hear.